Welcome to our Grand Strand Weekly Web Chat. It's the final week before region play begins for most schools. Our opinions just about formed by about all of the teams in the greater Grand Strand area. But some games at the beach this week can certainly change our minds about what type of teams we have in the area. A couple guests like we do each and every week. He is Ian Guerin of the Sun News. He is Matt Parris of ESPN Radio.
Fantastic.
How we doing, guys?
Very good.
Awesome.
Very good.
Great. Great. All right, let's take a look, as we always do each and every week. A lot to get to this week, a lot of good matchups, especially one at the beach. Let's take a look back at Week 4 results from last Friday night. Andrews knocking off Murray 42-14. Myrtle Beach 33-10 over Carolina Forest. Carvers Bay picking up a big win over Georgetown 20-14. Conway 42-40. Socastee 48-12. Before we switch graphics here, let's go over that Myrtle Beach Carolina Forest game. Start with you, Ian. I mean, what can you say? Myrtle Beach, you know, they didn't have the most glamorous offensive day, but they come out with a 2-3 score win.
Yeah, they really didn't need to do a whole lot. They, they got a couple field goals in the third quarter, put them up, a little bit more of a sizable lead, and then they took care of it in the fourth quarter as well. Carolina
Forest, I mean, where do they go from here? Now 1-4.
You know, Drew Hummel's got a good team. You know, got talent on that team. They have a really, really tough schedule, and they're in that tough 4A region there. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. But I think they'll get some wins moving towards region play.
Do you stop making excuses for Carolina Forest now? Is it just like, you got the schedule, you got to play what you got to do, and you got to get the guys ready for it?
Right. I don't think they have any choice. The funny thing is as we were talking about before the show, if they are not ahead of their points, place where they were a year ago this time at 4-1, they're pretty darn close to it with obviously a record that is, mirrored. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing. At some point, though, you do have to win the games, and, it might not happen until region play starts.
Socastee 48-12 winner over Lakeview. I thought that was one of the more we thought Socastee was going to win, obviously, but for them not to even sleep on a Class A opponent like that, that says a lot about that team and their focus, in my opinion, that the Braves, they want a good record. Quite honestly, they want to run the table probably.
Yeah, oh yeah, and they can. They've got the talent to do so. And this Lakeview team, not a bad team, but Coach Tim Renfro kind of resting some starters later on in the game. They went in there against his former alma mater and took a few down, and then resting some of those starters. They go into the bye week against before non-region play. So, yeah, I think they're looking to run the table this year.
Conway 42, Marlboro County 40. That was a big win. Fourth quarter comeback for the Tigers, and kind of creating some momentum entering this week. I think there's one other game on that schedule, if we can switch that, Nelson. There we go, a couple more games. North Myrtle Beach knocking off Mullins 42-12. Cross coming down to the beach here, or I guess up to us, because Cross is down in the Charleston area. 53-40, lots of points in that game. Waccamaw getting a win at Hannah Pamlico, their second win of the season, so congratulations to the Warriors. Stands out on that page is North Myrtle Beach, 42 points, and it looks like, they have a chance to go 4-1.
Right, I think with North Myrtle Beach is kind of, similar to Socastee. I think they're really showing some maturity. They're taking care of those opponents that they, maybe, 3-4 years ago they were beating on a more consistent basis. But it shows that this isn't the same team it was, for the past 2 seasons when they couldn't find one win. So, I think it's big for them to beat a team like Mullins, just like it was Socastee over Lakeview.
North Myrtle Beach's coming out party won't be until probably 2 weeks, when they have a chance to play Socastee, which will be undefeated, as we know, because Socastee is off this week. Let's take a look at our key games for this week, at least our Grand Strand game of the week. Conway taking on Myrtle Beach, the battle of the victory bell, as they call it, here in the Grand Strand in Horry County. Marlboro County and Dillon, that's our PD game of the week for News 13. Obviously, we're talking Conway, Myrtle Beach, and the chatter, obviously, from us will, be here in just a second, but we wanted to play a little soundbite from you. If you can, Nelson, pull up that one soundbite from Jacob Moreland. He's a linebacker, senior from Conway, and, well, he just, adds a little fuel to the fire here.
I mean, I grew up watching both of my brothers, and they only lost one game in their 8 years combined going against Myrtle Beach from 2001 to 2009. And honestly, it's time to get it back to where it was, because I think last year was a fluke. So it's time to prove and put them back in their place.
time to prove and put them back in their place, Jacob Moreland. And I mean, it took me 30 minutes after the news. I get a call from Mickey Wilson. I'm eating dinner. Mickey, breaking up my chicken ranch fajitas that my wife was making. And I said, what did I do this time? Mickey's calling me, and he wants the copy of that video.
He's going to play that video for them probably 6 or 7 times a day leading up to this game on Friday, and he's going to get some more fodder on Friday when our story comes out. I mean, the thing about Jacob Moreland is that 2 older brothers played at Conway. They were combined 5-2 against Myrtle Beach. They don't like to lose that game, and while it was a string there where it wasn't really a rivalry because one team was just reeling off win after win, over the other team. Conway winning that game last year, and then Myrtle Beach having the state titles in the last 4 years. It is developing back into that, and it makes it a lot more interesting game.
Matt, this kid knows what he's doing. Moreland, he talked to Ian 2 days before he talked to me. He talked to you on Monday, or
right.
1 day before, rather. Right. So, in a sense, does this, add more importance to the game just because there is, or do you think that this game's going to be bigger either way if this kid talked, got the fuel going in the fire with Myrtle Beach, or where do you put that soundbite at?
I mean, when we as the media go in, we're always trying to get these kind of sound bites, and that's our job. But from the standpoint of the football team, you have to look at it from one side of, okay, we believe we can win this game. We believe that we have the talent necessary to go in and take this game down from Myrtle Beach. But you also have to think, what kind of bulletin board material are we providing this already very powerful Myrtle Beach team? It's going to build it even more into a great game on Friday. So,
does this get Myrtle Beach out of their element maybe? Is that what Conway's trying to think? Hey, worry about this and forget about this. What's going to need to happen, in my opinion, for this game is Conway's going to have to win offense, defense, and more importantly, I think they have to win the special teams battle when it comes to Friday night, because if you remember last year, they blocked a field goal, and that kind of turned around into, basically a 10-point swing with a 9-point game. You could basically say that play was what decided it.
Right. I mean, and Monday when I was out there at practice, the very first thing that they went into working on was special teams. They had guys kicking field goals. They had guys, doing punt pro, on the other end of the field. That's immediately what they went into. They know it's a focus. If Myrtle Beach causes a special teams turnover, they get some points off it, something like that, that's their specialty. I mean, they've pretty much done something against every opponent so far. I mean, obviously the big block punt against Irmo led directly to that win. So, I mean, Conway's got to be special on offense. They already know they can do it. They did it last year, with Mikhail Moody before he got hurt, everything else. But special teams, if Conway doesn't take care of business, that could, equal another loss.
Last year, this game got a little dirty, if I remember. Let's kind of hash that out. I don't think you were there, but you were there. Apparently, they had one of the defensive players for Myrtle Beach might have took a helmet of Mikhail Moody and dug it into the ground. And you did a couple follow-up stories about this.
Right, it was, I mean, we started calling it knee gate because it seemed like it was, we were doing radio interviews about it and everything else. Long story short, Mikhail Moody getting off a pile took a knee to the head. Immediately after the game, Chuck Jordan believed that it was intentional. They sent the video off to the high school league, all that stuff. High school league came back and said, look, there was contact there, but, it didn't look intentional, or at the very least, there wasn't enough proof to say that it looked intentional. So it kind of went by the wayside. The bigger thing was that it knocked Mikhail Moody out of that game, and it potentially could have cost them, more games down the stretch. But, they had a bye week after that, and he did come back, and he was fine. So.
Matt, you've been around the Grand Strand for quite some time. What does this game actually mean to the community?
These two teams don't like each other. I think that's obvious especially after the story that Ian just told. This is a game, and this is what's great about high school football, is that the community comes together, and it's a rivalry, and it's fun. It's just a lot of fun to see these two teams, two of the best teams in the region usually. And so, like Ian said, it's coming back to be more of a rivalry, and I think it's a very exciting thing for the community to come together and see the two teams battle it out on the field, and you got the victory bell kind of thing going on, so it's a fun time. Yeah,
and you got a Conway alum coaching the Myrtle Beach team with Mickey Wilson, which makes it, even more, and add another storyline into the pot and stir this around, and what are we going to get on Friday night? who knows? Let's get some predictions. We don't predict all the games because, well, that's what our Thursday Pigskin Pick'em, I guess, is for in the newspaper. But who wins this game? Give me a score prediction, and we'll start with Ian. Come on down the row.
Myrtle Beach 24-22.
Close game.
I'll go Myrtle Beach. I'll go 35-21.
I don't know if Myrtle Beach can put up 35. It's just throwing it out there.
They would need some special teams.
They would need at least
defensive help.
One defensive score, special teams. I'm going upset again, guys. I just don't think – I know it's at Myrtle Beach, and they're not going to get beat here, but I think that Myrtle Beach is a beatable team. And if they're going to lose a game the rest of the way, this is going to be it. And if it's not it, then, they're going to run the table for region play, and then they're going to go into playoffs undefeated and have that big target on their chest. I think if they do lose a game right here, I don't think it's that bad of a thing because Mickey Wilson can spin this in a way like, hey, we need to get better. We beat all these other 4A opponents, but we didn't beat the opponent that we wanted to beat the most, especially after the talk from Jacob Moreland. So I'm saying let's go 27-24. Conway's kicker comes through in the clutch, and he's struggled this year. So I'm going to say he's going to be the hero of this game.
Wow, calling out a specific player, I like it. I really went back and forth with it, and I almost changed my pick with it, but I did stick with Myrtle Beach. It's just they've done this, and I don't think that they were coming in with as big a heads as they were last year. They had the national ranking. They were number 1 in the state. They are the latter again this year, but I think that playing at home on that turf, I think that they can neutralize some of the advantage in speed that
Conway has one game on that turf now.
Exactly. And, they didn't do so well on that turf. I think they're going to play a lot better this time around.
All right, that's all the talk we're going to have about Myrtle Beach Conway. That's like a 6-minute breakdown. Let's go to some of the other games that we're going to be talking about for the next graphic with, I believe it's Week 5 schedule. There you go. Andrews at Stall. We're not going to chat about that much. Hannah Pamplico takes on Ainer. I think all of us can probably agree that Ainer's going to pick up a win there. And what are they going to get to? 5-1?
4-1.
4-1. Carolina Forest at, is it Beaufort or
Beaufort?
Beaufort.
Yeah.
Beaufort.
All right. Because there's a Beaufort up in the PD Midlands area. But anyway, Carolina Forest, they have a tall task. Let's talk about this quick.
Yeah, they're going against a team that runs the ball very, very well. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. Jaclay Mixon is their running back. He went for 225 last week in a loss to Cane Bay, another 4A school. And like Carolina Forest, Beaufort has kind of beefed up their schedule in hopes of getting to the playoffs, but they get a home game. They run the ball very well. Carolina Forest does not stop the run very well. I think it just spells out to a Carolina Forest loss in this game.
And Beaufort's 2-2. Their losses are to Wando and Cane Bay, which are Wando's a good 4A team. Right. Cane Bay's now up to 4A, like you said, off air. But so that's gonna be a tough one. Carvers Bay takes on St. James. I think this is one of the more interesting matchups, as well as Loris at Georgetown, Matt.
Yeah, St. James has they went in last week and had some mistakes that led to that loss against Cross. I think if they can clean some of that up, it's going to be a good game. Carvers Bay is a pretty good team as well, though.
Carvers Bay turning some heads, 20-14 win over Georgetown. So then they come back with St. James, which is kind of a completely different offense, different animal. So it'll be interesting. Nate Thompson, he's won a state title at Carvers Bay, so he's going to have his guys ready. He's got the athletes over there in Bearland, I guess you would call it. So that'll be a good game. Loris at Georgetown. What's Loris? They're 3-1, aren't they?
3-1.
And Georgetown's 2-2. So that game's at Georgetown. I think that's a coin flip.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a coin flip. You got two pretty good teams there, and Loris. I think they probably come out with it, but it's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a low-scoring game, all about ball control.
Any thoughts?
Georgetown coming off a loss against Carvers Bay last week. Hopefully, Caleb Hughes can get things back on track there. But like you guys are saying, it is kind of a coin flip.
We haven't really, I guess, seen Caleb Hughes have a monster game yet, and maybe that could be this week. Loris, they're still a young team, but very athletic. So it'll be interesting to see what Loris' team does show up. The other games that we do have, I think there's one more on there. There it is. North Myrtle Beach at Green Sea Floyd's. I think all of us can say that North Myrtle Beach should win this game, and they'll get to 4-1 on the season. Sockasty. Let's talk about North Myrtle Beach. I mean, they were. I guess we kind of did already, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
Perry Woolbright. I mean, he hadn't won in 2 years, and now to have a 4-1 team, that's got to, create a little bit of satisfaction for the coach.
Right. I mean, he told these kids for 2 years, you got to just stay the course and believe what I'm telling you, and things are going to turn around. They sure did. They turned around in a hurry, and if they beat Green Sea, like I think pretty much everybody believes they will. They get to 4-1, and they set up a showdown with two of the biggest turnaround stories maybe in the area.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one, Sockasty against North Myrtle Beach. Not this Friday, but next Friday. Before we go, do you guys prepare for a player or a team or whatever that kind of stood out from last week, or one that you might think that can stand out this week? Any individual efforts?
Yeah, a lot of individual efforts, but I also, I mentioned North Myrtle Beach and Sockasty turning things around. I mean, also Waccamaw, they're 3-1 actually.
Oh, they're 3-1?
3-1. They're going to Timmonsville this week, who's also 3-1. They win that game, and that's a monster. Waccamaw knows they're going to the playoffs. They're in Class 2A, but I mean, 4-1 for Waccamaw would be big. They haven't done that since Bernie Bourne was there, and I think that would really charge up a lot of people down there.
Yeah, a lot of people would, they look at their schedule and kind of discount some of those wins, but you still got to go out and play who's on your schedule, and that's who they've done.
And they've won in different ways. They've won low-scoring games. They've won higher-scoring games. They've got a couple running backs in Jalen Simmons and Jeffron Smalls that are proving to be pretty good players, and I mean it's something that it may lead to a couple region upsets as well. That would be huge for that school.
Yeah, I got to see two of their games. They were winning, I guess, but winning ugly in a sense. 7-0. There's a lot of penalties, but that's the beginning of the season. If Tyrone can go clean things up over there, I don't discount that they can't pull off an upset over Ainer. Who else is in that region? Marion.
Yeah,
I mean, Marion's a very beatable team. Mullins. I mean, they could be right in, I guess, in the middle of the pack there.
Yeah, Dillon and Loris are in there too. I mean, it's a very, very tough region, and obviously I don't think any of these teams are beating Dillon, but to finish in second or third place in that region is still something to pat yourself on the back about.
Any thoughts?
I'm going to go with more of a breakout player, Jalil Fillmore for Andrews last week, I think he went for 3 touchdowns on the ground, leading them to their first win. Of course, it was against C.E. Murray, but they put up some points there. But it's good for them to get their first win, and he put up a good performance there for him.
Yeah, you can get that first win, get that monkey off the back, and maybe the rest of the season it can go a little bit more downhill rather than uphill. All right, he is Ian Guerin from the Sun News. Want to say your name? He is Matt Parris. I am Jeff Zell. You have to really know your sports media to know what we're talking about right here, at least in the Grand Strand area. Thanks for watching. Have fun out there on Friday nights. We'll see you back here next week.